Have you ever felt that knot of dread in your stomach, that icy grip of fear when you're about to be judged, maybe even ridiculed? That deep desire to be seen, to be understood for who you truly are, not who others assume you to be. Tell me in the comments, have you ever been in a situation like that? And while you're at it, give that like button a little tap. It lets me know you're ready for a story that might just resonate with you deeply. This story, yes, this very one, is especially for you, for anyone who's ever felt underestimated. Now imagine this, a grand old house, the kind with sprawling lawns and tall, imposing gates, hosting a rather, well, let's just say, a rather stuffy gathering. Everyone dressed in their finest, sipping fancy drinks and exchanging polite but often hollow smiles. In the midst of this stood a woman named Ilara. Ilara wasn't like the others. Her clothes were simple, her hands calloused from honest work, and her demeanor quiet, almost shy. She worked as a housekeeper in this very mansion, a kind soul who mostly kept to herself. Let's dive to see what unfolds in this unexpected scenario. The homeowner, a boisterous man named Reginald, with a laugh that echoed to the halls, had decided to throw this impromptu party. And as the evening wore on, fueled by perhaps a bit too much enthusiasm, he spotted Ilara quietly polishing a table in a corner. A mischievous glint sparked in his eyes, the kind that often precedes a not-so-kind prank. "Ilara, my dear," he called out, his voice booming across the room. Everyone turned to look. Ilara, startled, straightened up, her eyes wide with apprehension. Come here. We need some entertainment." A ripple of hushed whispers went through the guests. They knew Reginald's sense of humor could be rather peculiar. Ilara hesitantly made her way towards him, her heart pounding in her chest. In the center of the room stood a magnificent grand piano, its polished surface gleaming under the chandelier light. Reginald gestured towards it with a flourish. "Ilara here," he announced to the amused onlookers, "tells me she can play a tune. Isn't that delightful?" Ilara's face paled. "Sir, I never said that," she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. The truth was, she loved music with all her heart. In her few moments of solitude, she would sometimes gently touch the keys of the old, slightly out-of-tune piano in the servants' quarters. It was her secret solace, a place where she could escape the hardships of her daily life. But she had never played in front of anyone, let alone this crowd of sophisticated guests. Reginald, however, was not one to be easily dissuaded. "Nonsense, my dear. Don't be shy. Come on, let's hear a little something. It'll be amusing," he added with a wink to his friends, who chuckled in anticipation. Ilara felt a wave of humiliation wash over her. She knew they were expecting her to be clumsy, perhaps even make a fool of herself. The pain of their condescending gazes stung more than she could express. But beneath the fear, a flicker of something else ignited, a quiet defiance. Taking a deep breath, she slowly walked toward the piano. Her hands trembled as she sat down on the plush velvet bench. The keys felt cool and smooth beneath her fingertips. The room fell silent, the air thick with anticipation, mostly a mockery. And then she began to play. The first notes were hesitant, a little shaky. But as her fingers gained confidence, something magical happened. The melody that flowed from the piano was breathtaking. It was a piece filled with raw emotion, a story told through music, a lament of unspoken sorrows, and a celebration of quiet joys. It was a piece she had composed herself, in the lonely hours of the night, pouring her heart and soul into each note. The guests, who had been smirking just moments before, were now completely still, their expressions shifting from amusement to stunned disbelief. Their polite smiles vanished, replaced by a look of genuine awe. Even Reginald, who had orchestrated this whole spectacle, stood frozen, his mouth slightly agape. Ilara played with a passion and intensity that surprised even herself. It was as if the music had unlocked a part of her that had been hidden away for too long. Her fingers danced across the keys, weaving intricate patterns of sound that filled the grand room with an almost ethereal beauty. As the final notes faded into silence, a profound stillness hung in the air. No one spoke, no one moved. It was as if they had all been transported to another world, a world created by the simple woman sitting at the piano. Then, slowly, hesitantly, one of the guests, a renowned art critic named Ms. Albright, began to clap. The sound echoed in the silence, and soon the entire room erupted in applause. It wasn't polite, perfunctory clapping they had offered earlier. This was genuine, heartfelt appreciation. Reginald, recovering from his initial shock, rushed forward, a look of utter astonishment on his face. "Ilara, where did you learn to play like that?" he stammered, completely taken aback. Ilara looked up at him, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Sir," she said softly, music has always been in my heart." Ms. Albright approached Ilara, her eyes filled with admiration. "My dear," she said, her voice filled with emotion, "that was extraordinary, truly extraordinary. You have a gift, a rare and precious gift." Over the next few days, word of Ilara's incredible talent spread like wildfire through the small community. People who had once dismissed her as just a housekeeper now looked at her with newfound respect. Offers started pouring in. Invitations to play at concerts, requests for lessons. But Ilara, despite the sudden attention, remained humble. She continued her work, but now she also embraced her music. She started giving lessons to children in the neighborhood, sharing the joy that music brought to her life. The biggest twist came a few weeks later. A letter arrived for Ilara, bearing the seal of a prestigious music conservatory in another state. Inside was a full scholarship, offered solely based on an impromptu performance at Reginald's party. They had heard about her talent and were eager to nurture it. Ilara was overwhelmed. It was a dream she had never dared to even whisper, let alone believe could come true. The very people who had mocked her had inadvertently opened a door to a future she could never have imagined. She accepted the scholarship, and with a mix of excitement and trepidation, she left the mansion to pursue her musical dreams. Years later, Ilara became a world-renowned pianist, her concerts selling out in grand halls across the globe. Yet, she never forgot the day she was forced to play to be mocked. It was that very humiliation that had ultimately led her to reveal her hidden talent to the world. And Reginald? Well, he often told the story of how he discovered the musical genius in his own house, though he conveniently forgot to mention his initial intentions. So, what do you think of Ilara's journey? Have you ever experienced a moment where you surprised people with a hidden talent? Share your stories in the comments below. And before you go, if this story touched your heart, please give a like and share it with someone who might need a little reminder that true talent often lies hidden in the most unexpected places. The moral of this story, my friends, is that appearances can be deceiving, and true worth lies not in status or outward presentation, but in the unique gifts we each hold within. Never underestimate anyone, and never let the fear of judgment keep you from sharing your own unique light with the world. You never know whose life you might touch, whose perceptions you might change, and what incredible doors might open for you along the way.